You ever get that feeling like you're just completely zapped of energy? Like your brain is running on 1% and no amount of sleep or caffeine could fix it.
If it sounds like we're explaining exactly how you feel right now, then today's episode is for you.
Life is beautiful.
The Theo Bros Podcast.
Yo, how we doing? I am Mike Theo.
I am Nick Theo,
And you are listening to the Theo Bros Podcast.
where you can count on daily wisdom to get your mind right.
All right, so this might be the craziest thing I've ever learned about the brain. Super excited. It's called the pain-pleasure pendulum, and it explains so much.
Alliteration to the max day.
Yeah, you like that triple P, right?
Pain, pleasure, pendulum. Difficult word, but I like it.
Yeah. So, you know how Newton's third law says, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So it turns out our brains work in the same exact way. Every hit of pleasure pulls the pendulum of our brain one way. So you know those like do you know what a pendulum is?
That's the thing that swings from side to side.
Right. So you know that when you see those balls in the doctor's office, those silver balls, and you hit one and then it makes the other one go back and forth, and it's supposed to be super soothing. Okay. So imagine on one side is pain. You swing that one up and you let it go. Now it comes down and the opposite ball is pleasure. So pain, pleasure, pleasure, pain. It's going back and forth, back and forth. So every hit of pleasure will bring with it the equal amount of pain. And every amount of pain will bring with it an equal amount of pleasure.
Interesting.
Really interesting. So here's an example of how this works against us and why we feel so drained all the freaking time.
Okay.
What we're really talking about is dopamine, the chemical that motivates us and makes us feel good, that progress chemical.
Yeah.
So you scroll on social media, all right?
So that's the infamous one, right?
You scroll on social media, instant pleasure. Bing, bing, bing. It's like a slot machine. You're getting dopamine.
The craziest part about that is that these social media companies hired all the people that built out the casinos and made those dingy noises.
It's why when you refresh your feed, it's literally like
pulling a
slot machine. Yes. So you scroll on social media and you feel great, pleasure. And then the pendulum swings. Once you're done scrolling, you feel like crap, like equal amount of pain. So then what do? You need to swing. Your body, your brain wants to go back to pleasure. It wants more dopamine. It says, I'm missing dopamine now because you've put it out of balance. So then you scroll on social media for longer. And now you have more force going this way. And then boom, your brain goes back the other way. Once you're done, it's even more pain. And so this cycle continues where because you keep seeking these easy pleasures, your brain keeps getting further and further pushed the other way as soon as you're done seeking that pleasure, which makes you need to seek even more pleasure. And that's when you get caught in these traps of addiction. So this is what happened to me.
Did you just explain addiction, right?
Yes, I did. That's exactly what happened to me with nicotine. So I was feeling really stressed and I said, I'm just going to have one nicotine pouch. Just one nicotine pouch. Boom, pleasure. I was like, oh, wow, this feels great. I feel much better. Like I'm not as stressed. It was a crutch. Then that nicotine ran out in my brain. And now by the way, that nicotine is actually triggering dopamine. So the dopamine runs out and now I'm back into the pain. So now not only do I feel stressed, I feel extra stressed because I pushed the pleasure pendulum this way. So now my baseline for stress is even worse. Now I'm in the pain zone. So now I do another one. Boom, nicotine pouch. Ooh, pleasure again. And the more you swing back and forth, the heavier the swings get until I'm doing 5 of these Zins nicotine pouches a day to try to counteract this balance. And now my baseline, like at the very center, needs a shit ton of dopamine in order to be happy. So if you were to lock me while I was going through this addiction into a dark room with no stimulus whatsoever and just lock me in there, my brain would go freaking haywire because it's like begging for dopamine because it's used to all of this dopamine from these fake hits, whether that was social media, caffeine, nicotine. All of those hits of dopamine are pushing your baseline way out of whack.
You've spoken a lot about going to the pleasure ball first? What about going to the pain?
Well, that's the good news.
Yeah.
That's the good news. The good news is that the opposite is also true. So the same way, the more you focus on doing these easy, pleasurable things, the more your baseline for happiness and dopamine in your brain lowers over time.
Yeah.
The same is true if you do the opposite, meaning if you do painful things on purpose, that's another alliteration for you, pain on purpose, your baseline, so the same way, you do the pain, boom, the pendulum swings, now you move into pleasure afterwards.
Yeah.
But it's a different kind of pleasure. It's not the pleasure that you got from the social media or the other garbage. It's a deeper, like more fulfilling sense of pleasure.
I think the easiest example for that is working out.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
No one has that like desire in the beginning of their fitness journey to like get up, go to the gym and have a solid workout. But I can guarantee you every person that gets their ass to the gym, accepts that pain, puts themselves through a tough workout. When you're walking out of that gym, you are walking on a cloud.
100%. And the more you keep choosing pain on purpose, the more your dopamine baseline increases. And when you get locked into that room where you're by yourself, you feel good. You don't feel like you're missing anything because you've been choosing pain instead of the cheap dopamine.
Yeah. Another example is meditation.
Yep.
Meditation is like this thing that people have a lot of resistance to. And even sitting down in an uncomfortable position sometimes can cause pain. But when you actually break through and you get to the end of it, you do feel that pleasure and that sense of calm and peace within.
Yeah, procrastination is another thing. Like when you sit around and watch Netflix instead of doing things to make progress, you're going to feel like the cheap dopamine from the Netflix as opposed to the amazing feeling you get when you do something like build a piece of furniture at 8 o'clock at night, in my case, that I really don't want to do. But then after you build it, you feel that rush of progress, which is different than the cheap dopamine.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're going on and on.
Moral of the story here.
Yeah. Pain, pleasure, pendulum, choose pain on purpose and be wary. And this brings us right into the call to the action. Be wary of pain disguised as pleasure. What I mean by that is, for me, I'll give the example of the nicotine again. Now when I look at a nicotine pouch, I actually see like this little evil thing that is wrapped in this white cloak that is disguised as pleasure. But really it's pain. Like you have to see through the immediate pleasure and see the pleasures disguised. Like it's pain disguised as pleasure. Are you following me?
Yeah, it's pleasure now, pain later.
Yes, but I'm like literally imagining like a visual.
You're changing your viewpoint on the pleasures. So like the cookie that you want to eat, the pleasure, it's this evil cookie or some shit.
No, like
same concept.
It's basically a little demon wearing a cookie as a cloak.
I got you. Okay.
It's pain. It's not pleasure. So don't like trick your brain into looking at these cheap pleasures as actually evil substances that are really going to only cause you more pain.
Ultimately, what you're trying to do is tell a different story.
Yes. So make the right choices today. Don't eat the stupid things that are cheap pleasure. Try to limit your social media use and realize most pleasures are just pain in disguise.
And do something hard.
Yeah, that's bonus points.
That if you do something hard, that's when you feel proud of yourself. That's when you feel the deep pleasure that we're talking about, the stuff that's going to move you in the right direction. And if you do that day after day, you're really going to like the place that you're in a year from now, 6 months from now.
More importantly, you're going to like the person that you are.
Yeah. All right. Love you. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Peace.
Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end.
If you're new here, we share daily mindset motivation in 10 minutes or less.
So if that's your vibe, hit subscribe or check out another episode right here.